Hello, good morning, and welcome into another episode of Good Morning NASDAQ. I'm your host, Don Mastro Mateo with Clover Trading, joined by a good friend and colleague, Mr. Michael Hudson. How are we doing this morning?
We're good. Thanks for welcoming us in today. Actually, quite a few gappers this morning here, Dom.
We do have some gapulators. That's what we do here on Good Morning NASDAQ. We talk pre-market prep. We're here every single market day, 8:45 a.m. We go through the list of top gappers, hit our scanners. We talk a little bit about the fundamentals, any potential dilution, the news, the catalyst, and then go through the daily chart support and resistance and decipher if it's something that we think could be a big runner or not. We're on the
Correct.
heels. It's what? The 29th day of January. We are wrapping up the first month of the new year. That was it. That was fast. That felt like a really fast month. Uh, had some periods of momentum. We had some fun oldies stocks runners. We had DWAC and Fun, Fannie Mae. Um, I kind of prefer this type of market where it's not like roaring hot, but you do have plenty of action. We have gappers, we have runners, and it's really easy to kind of know what you have to stay focused on.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
I mean, totally.
Totally. We got Joseph in the room, Nemo, Raymond, Kelvin. I got my coffee. We're on the heels of a very sad performance from the Detroit Lions last night. Huddy is out traveling the world right now and informed me that in his time zone, he watched the football games this morning at 5 a.m., which is just mind blowing that that's still the same day for him. But that's how time zones work, huh? Are you muted?
Huh? It,
Oh, there you go.
it's the future.
You're in the future. So what time is it right now?
Right now it's 8:49 p.m. I'm exactly 12 hours ahead of you.
Wow. A full 12er.
Yeah.
A
So
full
I just
12er.
have whatever you do during the morning, I do at night.
That's crazy. All right,
Kind of
so we're
cool.
going to go through the gappers. If you have any questions about stocks we don't bring up or about the stocks we're talking about, put them in the chat. We'd be happy to get to them when we wrap up the gappers. First one on my list, if it's okay with you, Huddy,
Whoa,
is
whoa, whoa, whoa,
ONMD.
whoa. You said I get to
All right,
start.
you start it.
All right, we got three stocks I'm willing to talk about because they're active.
All
The rest
right.
of them I don't care. We have one that is a nano float we could talk about. We have one that is stronger than the rest of them, and then we have one that is hard to borrow and has SSR on.
All right.
You kind of
Kick us
want to do
off.
the hard to borrow and SSR.
Kick us off then. Pick one.
Actually, two of them are hard to borrow SSR. We'll go with OMND because that's where Dom wanted to start.
ONMD.
Yeah.
Right. Let me get to.
And right off the bat, I mean, it's another one of these companies. I don't know if you guys have been following along for quite some time. Hopefully you have been. If you have not, hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up. We always appreciate one of those. It's another one of these like business combinations where all the assets are held in treasury stock or something like that. Where they have like very little current assets, but they have like a ton of total like long-term
Cash.
assets or whatever it is.
Did you freeze? Oh no, I think we might have lost Huddy. All right. Well, he's the filings guy, so we'll go through and see what the news is. 51 minutes ago, he should be back any second. He'll probably repop in. They announced participation as an exhibitor at the 15th annual Scope Summit. So they're going to be presenting 22.7 million float. I want him to explain what he was going to say about the Treasury. Looks like he's popping back in. Let's take a look at the chart. Oh, here he is.
We're back.
You're back. All right, continue.
What did I say? What was the last thing you heard?
Before your face froze, you said all their cash is in treasuries.
Yeah, and I was saying that we've seen some other stocks like this gap up in the past. I think the last one was SPEC. So, it's one of those charts where you don't have a lot of trading action on it as it's, kind of a recent fresh business combination type of chart. And you have this gap up, and you're supposed to ask yourself, well, what is it going to do today? Well, if I have to base it off of what other similar stocks have done, which is probably not the best way to do it, or it's not probably the most concrete way to do it, but it didn't work out well for those stocks. They kind of had situations where they closed, kind of in like a doji day one type of formation. It just the way that this balance sheet reads to me is very similar to those stocks. So we'll see if it ends up the same or not.
Yeah, catalyst is that they're presenting at a conference, so it's not like the most monumental piece of news we've ever seen. Daily chart's pretty not a whole lot going on. The biggest volume day is a 2.1 million day where it topped out at 155. We're trading below that right now, still up 156% on the day, but already by far biggest volume day on the chart. So I'm not too interested in it. We'll see. What do you have for float? I have 22 million.
I think I had that too.
Okay, so this is not your nano float. So it's a reasonable float, not too tiny, too small. But yeah, coming from the 50 cent area all the way up towards 2, it's a big move to kick off things on this Monday morning. So we'll see if it can kind of hold around. There's really nothing for me here. I prefer daily charts where there's a little more information. It's a lot more concrete, its behavior, how it likes to run, what does it do when it gaps up. We can't really answer a lot of those questions on this stock. And today's kind of going to be the first time that really happens, where we get a piece of news, we get a big gap, doing massive volume. So we'll see what it does here today.
All right.
What's the next one you want to talk about?
Every day there's going to be a gapper, and you don't have to like them all.
You don't have to like them.
We'll talk about the nano float next because you brought it up.
Which one?
And that's going to be Revelations.
Rev B. That's a nano float, $18.
Yeah, so they did a reverse split, I think, like 2 or 3 days ago on January 25th. Brought the float down to 210,000, if I'm remembering or if I'm reading correctly. Kind of interesting things I do know about them. Wait, where'd my news go? As far as fundamentals go, not too much in the dilution, but they do have some dilution with alternate cashless features. Unfortunately, it's almost depleted, but that's usually really toxic dilution from February 2023 warrants. And that's pretty much all I have for that one. I think it's got a history of pretty big failures. I'll let you go through the daily chart and the news.
I don't see any news. Do you see news?
I don't see news.
Yeah,
I didn't see news.
The most recent. It's just that it's reverse split. Did we trade this one in the past? The ticker symbol.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Seems like they have a pretty good cash position. They have a lot of cash, but everything else is overall risk is high. All the dilution you talked about. 0.21 million float now. 200,000. That's one of the smallest we've seen in a long time. It's also kind of crazy that it's that small at $18 a share.
Yeah, it's gonna be either one, in my opinion, that just like kind of starts like it opens and it just starts skipping up on air. Because like again, like it trades with like a 50-cent spread, so if it does trap any shorts right out of the open, like it could probably stop a lot of people out pretty quickly.
This is one
I don't have
where
a lot of experience in trading 200,000.
No, that's one where like I don't think I want any experience trading it. 200,000 is very, very, very small. Like you times that by 10, you have 2 million, which we already would categorize as very, very, very small. And you added the fact that it's going to be a wide spread. It's going to be very thin. It's up 92% today, which is what, $9 a share. Yeah, this is one that I think this is going to be like the entertainment one for the day, where it'll be kind of cool to see what it does. If it's just a halt fest, if it does get kind of bid up and kind of go nuts. But in terms of actually having a quantifiable edge on something like this, I think that's very difficult to do on a 100% gap with that small of a float and that expensive of a stock. It's kind of it's a weird mix, and I don't really want anything to do with it.
I disagree in the sense that it's going to be the fun one to watch today. I think the next one we're going to talk about is going to be the fun one to watch today.
Okay.
And is just the one you probably want to delete off your screen.
Yeah, maybe it's not the fun
Pretend
one,
it
but I
never
wouldn't.
exists.
I think you're gonna see $5 to $10 in either direction. Like,
Oh, for sure.
there's gonna be movement, but in terms of actually being a predictable edge, I don't know how many. I don't know. 200K float. That's small. That is
Yeah,
small.
that is
So what's the next
very
one?
tiny.
Pally.
Palisades.
Here we go. That's a more normal looking gapper for us. Let's go
This
through
is a real
the.
gapper on real volume.
Let's talk about it. We got a 9 million float Palisade biotechnology company. They're a late stage biopharma company, advancing therapies that help patients with acute and chronic gastrointestinal complications stemming from post-operative digestive enzyme damage.
Nice.
53 minutes ago, they announced positive preclinical data of lead program Pally 2108 at the 2024 Crohn's and Colitis Congress. Sounds like the place to be.
Could be.
What do you see here? They got 11.6 million in the bank. 12 months of cash left. What did I say? 9 million float. So a low float, but not tiny. What do you see in the dilution?
This is one I actually didn't do my research for because it came a little later than when my research hour was.
Did it.
Yeah, it's just this weird time zone. I started working at 5 p.m. and that's 5 a.m.
That's
And
weird.
this really didn't start gapping until like an hour ago, and I was already like over doing all the research. But we have 3.66 million warrants, it seems like, somewhere priced in the 260s, 250s, 230s. Some nasty repricing features to some of them, but I don't think they're repriced at the moment. And yeah, kind of like a historical chart where you go back as far as you can, and every time it does gap, it kind of comes back to where it came from. Some multi-day runs, but a lot of them, even if they are multi-day, like it comes back almost every time. So I don't know if it's going to be a 2-day run and then it comes back, or if it's a 1-day run and it's a doji candle, but I do think it's coming back.
And the weird thing on all those runs that I'm seeing is they have a big green day, one or two of them, but the first red day is a giant gap down, and that usually, if we're just speculating, we could dive into it and go to the news on those days. Probably something bad news, dilution, whatever it is. Big gap downs like that. I mean, this most recent one, the stock closed at like $1.40, opened at 87 cents. So it's not been too friendly for overnight longs. Let's go back a little further, see if there's any other areas. So that's kind of your area from the end of 2022 and 2023 in the $6 and $7 area. That's like your massive resistance. And then the most recent one is 190s. So we got some warrants over that 190 area in the twos. We have a big daily chart candle that tops out at 193, where they did 160 million. We've already done 24 million this morning. This is more normal, though. The type of small cap daily chart we see on gappers kind of been doing a whole lot of nothing for the last 4 or 5 months. And, they're at their conference, getting it in at the old Crohn's disease Congress today, presenting. And we got to move from the 50-cent area as high as 120. Like Huddy said, just kind of pretty much started here in the last hour. And this is one of that's holding up near the highs right now. So you think this is going to be, that's probably going to be the main player. You got whole dollar area at $1. You have resistance overhead in the 190s. It's already up 100%. This feels more like something that people would attack for a gap and crap, what people are going to be looking at for a long. This kind of fits more of the characteristic of something that people would be more interested in terms of price, float, and volume so far this morning.
Yeah, totally. And I think the main thing going forward into this week, which I found interesting, and I don't think you should take any specific stats based off 1 week, but a lot of the gap and craps that came from this like dollar plus range held up last week. And simultaneously, we also had like the SPY break out of all-time highs. Now, I'm not saying that there's a specific correlation, but we might have changing of a market cycle or dynamics within the market because of that causality. I'm not sure if I'll draw any conclusions like based off 1 week of trading, but it was an interesting week in terms of the gappers and the data, but it's only like a small sample size so far.
TJ asks about PALI. Any thoughts about hammering it out of the open, Huddy?
Yeah,
What are your thoughts about hammering it out of the open?
I have thoughts about those. I have thoughts about that.
What are they?
But yeah, I mean, look, if it opens up at a certain price and it fits my criteria, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. But I'm not gonna say that right now because it's still 30 minutes to open
Still
and a lot
got
can happen.
27 minutes left of pre-market. But yeah, I kind of agree. I think that's going to be out of the ones we've talked about so far. Rev B is probably just going to be impossible to trade. What was the other one? ONMD. That one's very similar.
Rev
It's a
B,
very
if
similar
you
price range as well. ONMD.
Rev B, if you're a crazy guy or girl, that's that.
That's the one for
I
you.
Yeah, I don't know who walks up to a 210K flow and says, "Yep, today's the day I want to mess with that." But that person, I don't want to go out alone with at night.
That's like
That is scary.
that Rev B is like a quad zero roulette wheel.
Um, but yeah, in theory, it's just I just feel like no matter what your risk thresholds, like you're gonna get stopped out, whether long or short. So it's like yeah, odds are crap.
And what were the statistics last week? I know you were kind of traveling on the gappers. I don't know. Remember if you traded any of them? I don't. We didn't have any mornings like this where we had multiple 100%
I
gappers.
luckily I luckily escaped last week because I was my traveling was pretty crazy too. Like I went to bed Wednesday night, and then when I landed in Hong Kong, the market was closed from Thursday, and that was odd. Like I missed the whole day. And then Friday, I was so like just dreary that I decided not to trade, and I don't think I traded Wednesday either because I think I was flying to LA. So I avoided most of last week, but I still did do a little write up for myself to see what happened. And we pretty much had four gappers that fit my criteria. Again, there might be other gappers that fit other people's criteria, but for these, there's four, and all of them spiked well over 50% in the morning. All of them closed fairly well green on the day, like it was a big bodied green candle. All of them, 4 for 4, were situations where I would take losses. SGMT, EVAX, PCSA, CRBP. Okay. On the flip side, coming from that cheaper area, the GETRs, the IVPs, the cheaper area did sell off quite well last week. None of those actually closed kind of full body in green, which is why I'm kind of like, to that question when someone said, would you slam Pally out of the gate? Well, it's coming from that range that kind of works better than, the Rev B or the Rev B range pretty much. So that's kind of the stats, right? Kind of back bucket. If I had traded every single one, I would have broken even for the week.
Okay.
Which is the first time I've seen that in a long time.
Yeah, and then kind of going into this week, it's Mondays. Well, we got 3 trading days before we're in February. Looking like it's going to be a more volatile week in terms of gappers. We got what? 200% plusers, 180% with Rev B being that weird one. Someone asked about MDAI. Wait, was it
I'm dying.
MDAI or MRAI? Let me see. MDAI. You have thoughts?
Yeah, I have thoughts. I have lines drawn on my chart. I have a lot of lines drawn on my chart.
What, you got one like 460?
Yeah, I think I have shorted this one in the past as a gapper strat. Probably back in October 19th. I'm almost positive I did that. So that's kind of the resistance, and there was a lot of volume that it topped out on, and until we confidently get over that and claim that level, I think you're gonna have a lot of bag holders just from a chart perspective. That was a pretty harsh failure day. Had like a good spike in the morning and then nonstop fade, and then again like down to the lows. Like if you were in this stock from that day, you haven't seen anywhere near your entry ever since. So this kind of gap up into the fours is either your one and last opportunity to take off before it goes back down to 190, or you take it off and it breaks out and it goes to 12. I don't know. But I think odds favor that there are bag holders in this chart.
Yeah, so MDAI, it is an AI company. We've had Nvidia breaking to like all time highs, or at least highs, along with the overall market, like you said. So we've kind of seen a couple AI names kind of trickle and start working and start breaking out. We saw BFRG last week, Bullfrog, um, and MDAI. I
Shout
don't.
out TCU.
MDAI. It doesn't look like it was around when, because this is a D-SPAC with
It
RCLF.
wasn't around.
When the AIs ran in early 2023. I think I was thinking that this was MRAI, but it's not. So yeah, I have the same lines as you. Looking for big volume days. Where did the stock top out on those days? That's where the bag holders are going to be. That's where areas of interest for short sellers, areas of interest for longs buying over. So I like this daily chart a lot more if the only resistance we had was the 370 high. When you have add in the 470 high, it's just like playing from one resistance level into another, and that's kind of more annoying. So the week, multi-day levels, that 370 area. So out of the gate, I think you're going to see a lot of people watching that. It's only up 43% right now, so it wouldn't be crazy to see this at 470 at that next real resistance level. But this is, I like, in terms of catalyst wise, I prefer an AI stock over something like PALI, which is just what they're talking at a conference. Um, yeah, interesting one to keep an eye on. I think it's good to have a list in certain sectors. So if things do start to pop off in AI, to know which grouping of tickers to go into. You heard Jack say on Wine Wednesday last week that he kind of was watching a portfolio of AI stocks just in case they started breaking out and started running again. So
How was
always good
Wine
to have.
Wednesday?
What?
I meant to rewatch your guys' stream. How was it?
It was
You
so
guys said it was
fun.
like the best Wine Wednesday ever. Why?
I don't know
Why?
if
I
it was the
wasn't there.
best one. I think it was just,
How could it be the best if I wasn't there?
yeah. It was fun. I don't know. It was just, we answered a lot of questions. I'm trying to remember. I just remember feeling like, wow, that was fun when we got done doing it. If anyone was in the room, in at the Wine Wednesday on last Wednesday, and you want to tell us why it was great, um, yeah, okay. William asks, Pally, even with its gap up history after day one, you're still interested in short Huddy?
What was the question?
Basically, PALI history is that it basically has a green day on the big gap days on volume that it has on the chart. That it's green on the day and closes green with a green candle. You're still interested in it short, sticking to the stats, even that this one particularly looks to be green every time it gaps.
I mean, guys, there's tons of stats out there. Like, don't weigh your hat on mine. Like, I have literally one person texting me right now that says any stock in between 1 to 140 that's 100% gapper like are historically awful. At the same time, like I don't think Pally is gonna hold up. So, my stats, personally say, that I should take the risk on it. And some other people's stats are gonna say that you shouldn't. Um, so I can't give you a definitive answer. I'm just gonna tell you that I'm probably gonna take a loss on it if it spikes a bunch in the morning. Okay, like I don't know how else to answer that. If it does the thing where a loss happens, boo hoo, like a loss happens, but I have to follow my stats and my data, and my data doesn't say anything about it. But again, other people's do. So the moral story is get your own data, and then trade your own system. But
BYOD,
yeah,
bring your own
I mean,
data.
I'm always like losses are losses, right? They're like unavoidable, right? The most important thing is like, not compounding the losses or at least like sticking to systematic patterns that like, you're not doing random stuff. And like I'm not scared of a loss, even though like, chart says green day, green day, green day. Like there's also red days if you look at it. So it's like, I just think like given where it came from and given what failed last week, this one has a better chance of failing than the other ones. But they all could spike. Not very few of them failed last week unless they were like under a buck. So it's all sorts of confusion and overthinking that you probably don't necessarily need to do, or you should do. I don't know. It's stock trading.
Stock trading.
Yeah.
Jeff asked, would you guys take a look at RNAS, LGVN, and PRZO? Okay, Jeff, that's a lot. Thanks for your mentorship this morning. You are very welcome. If you are someone out
Landing.
there who also appreciates the mentorship this morning, Don't be afraid to hit that like button for us. We're only at 44 right now, 128 of you watching. So would love to see that number up in the 64 area. Just a number I'm just picking out of a hat. So hit
I
that
almost
thumbs
just
up
rage
button.
quit when you said that.
You almost what?
I
Rage
almost rage
quit.
quit the
It's
Zoom.
hard to
Yeah.
look at. I feel like when we started this stream back, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, you know, it was just like everyone wanted to hit the thumbs up button. Now I just feel like I have to ask, and it's sad. But all right, RNAS, LGVN, and PRZO. Look at them all, Huddy.
Okay,
Are they
RNAS is
related, or are
sitting.
they just three tickers that?
LGVN is not in play. And what was the
Um,
last one?
RNAS, PRZO. PRZO was the Israeli stock, wasn't it?
PRZO's fine. I mean, it's up like a little. It's fine.
It's
What do you want to do with any of
fine.
these?
Yeah,
What do you want?
I think the
What do you want to do
main.
with these?
I gotta look at the other one. LGVN.
That one's literally. Don't even look at it.
Yeah, you knew I'm not gonna like it. Yeah, the real question is that's the question I would answer if I'm watching these stocks is like, what am I doing with them? If you've been around Clover and you've seen what we like to trade, Huddy's kind of moving into more of a systematic type of approach on a lot of the gappers that we talk about. Right here on Good Morning NASDAQ, what I'm looking for, what Kyle's looking for, is generally big daily chart patterns. Stocks that, what do we got right now? Like RVSN, right? Like something that is clearly super liquid right now that a lot of people are trading. It's got volume, it's got range. It's kind of breaking out, it's setting higher lows. This move started in the twos and got all the way into the 12s. Jeff says all three have good PRs this morning. J-Bone says PR's the worst stock of all time. Yeah, so they could have PRs and catalysts, but at the end of the day, what really, this is kind of why I don't love doing Good Morning NASDAQ, because a lot of times I'm talking about stocks that I'm not going to be really ever all that interested in. And I know that probably confuses a lot of you. But I'm really looking for big daily charts, stocks that are making big moves. Like DWAC and Fund last week, where you have runs that start with a catalyst that is engulfing the Twitter sphere, the chat rooms, everybody, and then is breaking out, going from 20s to the 40s to the 50s, and then having first red days and having first green days on Friday. Same thing with PHUN. It's really easy to sink my teeth into stocks like that. On the stuff like, RNAS, like, what am I really looking at here? A stock that some bad news had to have happened in the last few weeks where the stock goes from 5 down to...
They've done so many reverse splits and so many offerings, and the offerings are so toxic that the stock like gaps down and gets destroyed.
Yeah, and it's like, do I want to trade that? I want to trade strong stocks. Stocks that are doing massive volume. They have the PRs that you're talking about, like Good News, Catalyst, whatever it is. Really, I just care about the sentiment. Are people, chasing the stock? Are shorts getting twisted? Like, I want these stocks are vehicles to trade to make money in the short term. And so the PRs are great. We'd like to have catalysts. I prefer something I know exactly why it's running versus something that doesn't. But, LGVN, I honestly don't know what we're looking at here. Down 2.7% on the day. So 3 million shares, and it looks like it just popped and dropped. I think it's really easy to focus on stocks that have proven to you over the course of a day, 2 days, 3 days, that they're holding up, that the catalyst is sticking, that there's still people there watching it. A lot of these stocks, that you're looking at pre-market where PR comes out, like LGVN, if we look at this an hour ago, it's going from 80 cents to $1.30. That's a big move. But now that we're looking at it here at 9:15, it's right on the day again. And so it's these pre-market gappers, it's so quick and easy for them to go from a wonder to, absolutely no interest at all. He says, I'm trying to learn how to find good quality gap and crap reversals. Any suggestions help me find those setups would be greatly appreciated. That's not either of our specialties. Like I said, I really don't trade day one stocks. I'm really focusing on the big picture daily chart patterns that we talk about over Clover Trading. Huddy's kind of our day one gap and crap guy. In terms of gap and crap reversals, that's more of a Roland Wolf type of guy. I don't really know anyone who trades gap and crap reversals besides Roland. Do you, Huddy? Or have any input on it?
I just think it's like the most discretionary.
Dude,
like,
it's an art.
setup
It's an art.
Yeah, it's not for me because I can't follow a system where it's like rinse, wash, repeat on every single one. Fits the criteria, fits the trigger, fits like expected like range. I just can't find that on day one on day one like gapping crap reversals or whatever it's called. So it's a strategy that I've never really wanted to learn or tried to learn because it's very tough. It's very tough. It's more of an art. And I like systems. I like processes. I like data. I
Yeah,
like data.
that's any strategy really pertaining to longing day one stocks, like day one gappers that we're talking about here on Good Morning Nasdaq, are good. It's like the people who are good at them. It's very difficult for them to teach it. I feel like even when you see a great trade on a day one gapper, like I can go back and go, okay, why is this one any different than this one that failed, and why are we looking at this one, not this one? Like it's very very not systematic. I feel like there's you have to take into account the current market sentiment, the momentum right now, how are gappers running, which ones actually stick to support and resistance, is there daily chart levels that matter, is the catalyst something that is working right now? Because I think a lot of it does have to do with um like one piece of news on Monday translates to Tuesday to Wednesday, and that the same type of news can keep pushing stocks. It's an art for me versus the daily chart patterns. It's very easy to be ignorant and just go, okay, breakout, okay, first red day, okay, for screen day, and I prefer that style. DJS isn't gap and crap a short strategy. Roland is long. Yeah, gap and crap reversal. So it's like day one stocks that gap, they don't spike out of the open, they go down, and then they like either retest VWAP or retest high a day, reversing off those lows. Um, yeah, so it's tough for me. Day one longs, I think it's very difficult. I think if you pick your spots versus doing it every day, I think I think you'd have more luck trading day one longs in pre-market when the news is coming out, when the momentum is just starting, versus at the open. I think the open is when you get a lot of, from watching Huddy trade systematically day one shorts, like a whole lot happens between 9:30 and 10:30 on these gappers, even the ones that work. So yeah, all right. Well, it is 9:19. We got to head on over to. You have something to say?
Nah, it was going to be way too much of giving away the farm about why I do it the way I do it, and it's going to take too long. And
If
we
you
have 10 minutes
want to
till
know the
market
farm
opens.
on why Huddy does it the way he does it, head on over to Clover
That's a
Trading. You can
Clover
get in
thing.
for $7 for 7 days. Get access. We have webinars weekly, 2 webinars. We've been posting video lessons pretty much daily, archived webinars, all that good stuff. Get in their room if you want more education and to take your education more seriously. But if not, we will be here live every morning, 8:45 a.m. for Good Morning NASDAQ. We'll be here tomorrow morning as well to wrap up January over the next 2 days. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for hitting the like button. Make sure to subscribe if you are not already. Really helps push the channel to other people and aspiring traders. We will see everyone in the room, and we'll see you guys tomorrow, 8:45 a.m. right here on